It all started with a letter. A plain white envelope slid under my door, stamped with the red seal of the HOA. At first, I thought it was some routine notice, maybe a reminder about trash bins or lawn care. But when I tore it open, my eyes froze on the bold black letters. Notice of violation, 100 daily fine. My heart sank. I read it again and again, certain I had misunderstood. But no, they were fining me $100 per day. For what? For having my garbage can visible for a single night. Just one night. I laughed in disbelief, but that laugh turned bitter when I realized they weren't joking. The next day, another letter came. Another $100? The day after that, another. Within a week, I was staring at $700 in fines for something so ridiculous it felt like a prank. I stormed into the HOA office demanding answers, but the board, 5 smug faces sitting behind a polished oak table, barely looked at me. One of them, a man with sharp glasses and a smile too cold to be real, leaned forward and said, "Rules are rules. If you can't follow them, maybe this neighborhood isn't for you." His words weren't just dismissive, they were a threat. And that's when I realized this wasn't about trash cans. This was about control. The fines didn't stop. Every morning I woke up with another envelope in my mailbox, each one a dagger to my bank account. Soon it wasn't just garbage cans. They fined me for having a patch of grass too long, for leaving my car in the driveway overnight, even for hanging a small holiday light early. At first I thought they were targeting everyone, but when I spoke to my neighbors I learned the truth. No one else was getting fined like this. It was me. Only me. And I didn't know why. But here's where the hook tightens. Because when I dug deeper, I found out that the president of the HOA, that smug man with glasses, had been quietly buying up foreclosed homes in the neighborhood. My house. It was his next target. By burying me in fines, he could push me into default, seize my home, and flip it for a profit. Suddenly, everything made sense. My trash can wasn't the problem. My existence was. I tried to fight back. I filed appeals, but the board rejected every single one without even reading them. I tried to gather neighbors for support, but most were too scared to speak up. One whispered to me, "They did this to a family 2 streets over. They lost everything. Just be careful." That night, as I sat in the dark staring at the pile of fines on my kitchen table, I realized I was at war. And if I didn't play smarter than them, I'd lose everything. So I began playing their game. At first, I pretended to comply. I kept my yard spotless, my car hidden, my house so perfect it looked like a model home. Yet somehow, the fines still came. They accused me of parking too close to the curb, of having a mailbox too dull in color. It was absurd, but each fine was documented, each one signed by the board. That's when the idea struck me. What if their very weapon could be turned against them? I started documenting everything. Every fine, every interaction, every conversation with neighbors. I bought a small camera and installed it discreetly near my driveway. I recorded HOA members sneaking around my property late at night, measuring things, taking pictures. I kept a journal of dates and times. Piece by piece, I was building a case, but not just any case. A case that would expose them for what they truly were. Predators. Weeks went by, the fines climbing into the thousands. I was nearly broke, my savings drained, but I kept going because I knew I was close. Then came the twist. One night, I caught the HOA president himself on camera trespassing in my backyard. He was holding a clipboard, jotting things down under the cover of darkness. But when he saw my camera light blink, he froze, like a deer in headlights. And just like that, I had him. The next morning, I walked into the HOA office with a smile. They were ready to hand me another fine, but instead I pulled out a folder stuffed with evidence. Photos, recordings, logs, everything. "You've been breaking your own rules," I said calmly, placing the footage of their president trespassing on the table. For the first time, their smug faces cracked. But I wasn't finished. I had also uncovered that the board had been mismanaging funds, using HOA fees for personal vacations, fancy dinners, and home renovations. My evidence was solid, and I was prepared to take it public. Either these fines disappear, I told them, or this entire neighborhood learns the truth. They panicked. They offered to settle quietly, to erase my fines and move forward. But I wasn't about to let them off so easily. I played my final card. I filed a lawsuit. With all the evidence I had gathered, the court sided with me. Not only were the fines erased, but the entire HOA board was removed, investigated, and eventually charged with fraud. The man with glasses? He lost everything. His empire of foreclosures crumbled overnight. The neighborhood erupted with relief. People who had been silent for years finally spoke out, thanking me for standing up when no one else could. But I didn't do it for gratitude. I did it because I refused to be bullied out of my own home. And here's the real kicker. The house the HOA president tried to steal from me, it's still mine. And every time I sit on the porch, sipping my coffee, I smile knowing that sometimes the only way to beat a rigged game is to play it better than the people who invented it. But the story doesn't end there, because weeks later, I received another letter in the mail, not from the HOA, but from someone who claimed to be a victim of another neighborhood's board. They had heard what I did and they begged for my help. That's when I realized this wasn't just one corrupt HOA. This was bigger, much bigger. And if I had taken down one, maybe, just maybe, I could take down more.